Make sure she's on, and she's on and getting sound perfectly. Alright, so I want you to find the picture of the, I call them the creepy kids, because that's what most of my students see them as, but I want you to go ahead and find the picture of the old-fashioned picture of the two kids, and you're going to right-click on it and choose Open with Photoshop. Once you have that picture open up in Photoshop, I want you to go up and File, Save As. Let's make sure where it says Save In that you're putting it in your U Drive Computers folder. You're going to name it Photo Restoration. And then the format, as always, you're going to save it as a Photoshop.psd, Photoshop document. And then you can go ahead and say Save. I'm going to cancel because I don't really want to save it. All right. I'm going to go ahead and close my photo bin because I will not need my photo bin for this project. I'm also going to go ahead and close, if anything is open on the right hand side, some of you have your layers palette open, some of you have your graphics palette open. Just going to click on that tab and I'm going to close that because I will not need any of those windows to be open for this project. As I zoom in on this project, you're going to see that there's all kinds of nicks on the edges of the paper because after a while photo paper starts to chip on the edges, especially the old type of photo paper that was used, and that's what this is used from. You're also going to notice on there like some scratches and some nicks and some little specks all over in the background. And I'm going to show you how to get rid of all of that. So the first thing we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to use our selection brush, and it will pop up the the tool options. We're going to use our selection brush, and we're going to switch where it says selection. We're going to switch it to what's called mask mode. So I want you to go ahead and do that right now. All right. If you would go ahead and turn your monitors off. From here I'm going to ask you to kind of pay attention. I'm going to give you several tools and several skills to follow. The first one is this mask tool. If you've ever helped paint a room, the first thing you did before you painted that room is you used a painter's tape. It's a masking tape, a painter's tape. And you masked off all the edges that you didn't want paint to get on. So like the ceiling edges and the frames of the doors and the frames of the windows, you probably put tape around that. How many of you remember or know what I'm talking about? You've helped paint or you've seen someone paint before. All right, perfect. So you know what I'm talking about. Well, the mask tool is nothing more than a masking tape. You're going to mask off anything that you do not want affected by the change we're going to be making. So I'm going to mask off the kids. Notice that I did get a little bit of the background, but that's okay. Getting some of the background is okay with this tool. The important thing is that you cover up everything that you do not want affected by what we're going to do next. I'm going to leave that edge exposed because it has a lot of damage to it. I'm going to leave just a little bit of that edge exposed at the bottom. I'm going to cover up the entire bench that they're sitting on. I'm going to make sure I cover up all of the kids. You don't want to go way up in here. That would be too far. But if you go off a little bit of the kids, that's okay. Totally fine. Now, just to show you what would happen if you forget to cover something up with the masking tool, I'm going to go ahead and pretend that I accidentally have left the kid's head exposed. Okay? Does everybody see what I have covered and what I have not covered? I left everything in the background exposed. I left the edge on the left side exposed. I left a small part of the bottom exposed. As a matter of fact, I'm going to cover up that carpeting a little bit more now that I made my tool smaller. I want to protect the carpeting, protect the seat they're sitting on, protect the kids. Okay? Now that I've put down my painter's masking tape, you could say, I'm going to go up to Filter, Noise, Dust and Scratches. I'm going to pick my picture, I'm going to pick this little window up and just kind of drag it to the area that has the most damage. And the area with the most damage is this area by her shoulder and her head, this area. If I click and hold, you see all the damage in this window. If I release, you see that it's already trying to improve it. But I can still see some scratches and stuff in there. To use this filter, you've got to make an adjustment with your radius and your threshold. Your threshold is the tool that says how much of the original background do I want to let through. If I say 100%, then 100% of the original background is going to show through, and you're not going to have made any changes. Your radius is the strength of the filter that we're using. If I put my radius all the way up and make it 100% strength, you're going to ruin your background. It's going to start looking kind of funky. Okay? Especially if you have your threshold set too low. So you need to create a balance that works for this particular picture, a balance between the radius and the threshold. Your balance is probably going to be a little bit different than mine, simply because what you see on my LCD screen is different than what I'm looking at on my computer screen right now. So I'm going to find a balance. Now, if I click and hold, you look at all the damage. If I release, no damage. If I click and hold, you look at the original background. Don't look at the damage now, but look at the original background. If I release, did the background change? No. So I have a good balance between my radius and my threshold. I say, okay, maybe I should have covered the kid's face. It is now trying to take his face and blend it in with the background because it thought it was part of the background. So you're always going to want to make sure you cover what you do not want affected by that filter. When you're done, you're going to go up to Select, Deselect. You are not going to make this mistake. Next tool I'm going to show you. We filtered out all of those specks and scratches that were on the background, but we could not filter them out from their clothes and from the bench and the carpeting they're sitting at because it would have made it look like his face. It would have messed it up. So, to get rid of these little specks, you're going to go to the Band-Aid tool, the healing tool. Using the healing tool, you're going to use the spot healing tool. With the spot healing tool, you're going to make your tool about the same size as the spot you're trying to heal. So I'm going to reduce its strength, and it's going to try to sample the area around the spot and blend what's inside of that circle with the area around it. So I don't want my tool to be too much bigger than the spot I'm trying to heal. And you just probably click once or twice and it goes away. Once or twice and it goes away. Might need to do that a third time. And it's gone. So your job, after you're done with the noise filter, dust and scratches, is to go around the entire project looking for any remaining specks and cleaning them up using the healing tool, the spot healing tool. You will find those specks on his leg. You'll find those specks on the carpeting. You'll find those specks on her clothes, on her arm, her clothes, okay? You'll even find them, that's not a speck. That's a big smudge. You'll find them over on the bench that they're sitting on. So your job will be to go through the rest of the entire picture that we were unable to filter and use the healing tool, the spot healing tool, to fix those spots. That's not a spot, that's his sleeve. It's the same color as his tie. So you don't want to spot heal that. That's his sleeve coming out from his suit jacket. The next thing you're going to want to do, we're going to look at her shoes. Now, we don't want to change them from what they were originally. They were originally a little scuffed, but we're going to try to give her a little dignity. And we're going to go up here and we're going to click on the tool next to the teardrop. Right now, it is the Dodge tool. The Dodge tool comes grouped with two other tools, the Sponge tool and the Burn tool. The Burn tool is the opposite of dodging. It's a darkening tool. The Dodge tool is a lightening or a whitening tool. So I'm going to click on the whitening tool. I'm going to make the size of my brush a little bit smaller. I'm going to decrease the exposure rate a little bit. And I'm just going to very quickly go over her shoes. You should be able to notice that they are slightly beginning to whiten a little bit. If you spend too much time on her shoes, it's going to bleach them white. It's not going to look natural anymore, and I'm going to take points off for that. So you don't want to spend too much time on it. Just a quick hold it, drag it, go over the shoes. Don't get on the carpeting. If you go on the carpeting, see what happens to the carpeting. So you're just going to drag it over her shoes a little bit. Just do a quick whitening of her shoes, and then we've brought those back to life a little bit. And then we have to deal with this giant crease between his feet. This looks like the picture was folded at one point in time, so it damaged the photo paper. For this, we're going to be using the clone tool. The clone tool looks like a little rubber stamper, so it's the clone stamp tool. Comes with two different stamps. One is the pattern stamp tool, and you can choose several patterns, but we're not going to be using the pattern stamp tool for this. We're going to use the clone tool. In order to clone this out, we have to tell the computer what to clone in. So I'm going to make my tool larger. I need to replace this area of carpeting. If I only replace this area, you're going to see this area and this area. You're going to see two different areas of carpeting in there, and you don't want that. So I'm going to choose either the carpeting on the right or the carpeting on the left to fix this area. How many people say I should choose the carpeting on the right? How many people say I should choose the carpeting on the left? Say it left again. So most of you seem undecided. Let me show you why I'm going to choose the left. Do you see the line in the carpeting? That line goes over, jumps up, and then goes over again. If I use this area of carpeting, that line's going to go over, jump up, go over, jump down, and then jump back up. Okay? So we're not going to want to use this area of carpeting to fix this area. Another reason we're not going to want to use this area, there's a shadow in this area. That shadow is being created by the kids and the bench. Over here, that shadow's not there anymore. So we don't want to go from shadow, shadow, shadow. It would go shadow, light, light, and it wouldn't look the same. So we want to keep that shadow. I'm going to make my tool a little bit smaller. Here's how to use this tool. I'm going to click on this line. As a beginner, it's nice to have a line to help guide you. Man, I really wish that would quit showing up. So I'm going to Alt. See what happens to my tool? It turns into a set of crosshairs. I'm going to Alt, then I'm going to click the mouse. Watch what happens when I click the mouse. You saw the tool blink. That means the computer has successfully recorded that that is the area that you want to clone from. Then I move over to the area I want to clone to. If I click and hold, notice there's a plus symbol on the left. Everything under the plus symbol is going to be copied under the circle. I have to pay attention to what the plus symbol touches and what the circle touches. Now, a mistake students make is they will just go through. Who's ever clicking their mouse? Stop, please. They will go through and they will create two different areas of carpeting. Have we fixed the problem? All we've done is created a new problem. So I'm going to undo. Alt, click the mouse. I'm going to replace all the carpeting between his feet. Notice that I can see the line going all the way across. Click and hold. Notice the plus symbol appears. If that plus symbol touches her foot, he's going to get her foot over between his legs. It's going to look kind of funny. If the plus symbol touches his legs are going to disappear and turn into carpeting. Or actually, he'll get another leg. If the circle touches his legs, you're going to get carpeting instead of a leg. So I'm just going to kind of go back and forth like I'm coloring. I need to get as close to his leg as I can without touching his leg. If I touch his leg disappears. I'm watching my plus symbol, making sure that it doesn't touch anything that I don't want it to touch. It's just touching carpeting. Okay? When I zoom out, I have fixed the area and you don't have any clue I was even there. Last thing you're going to want to do is you're going to go up here and you're going to fix her sleeve. You're going to have to make your tool smaller. You're going to have to make a new selection by clicking on Alt. Click the mouse. Then you're going to fix the sleeve. Now you need to be careful because in order to fix the sleeve, you're going to have to ruin the cuff line. So don't ruin too much of the cuff line because I now need to clone the cuff line back in. So I'm going to Alt, click the mouse. I'm going to try to keep that line steady. Right? And there's a little bit of smudge over here, so I'm going to Alt, click the mouse, clean that up. Right? Now, you're not going to do this, but I want to show you something because it's kind of valuable in our next project. Not only can you clone things out, but you can clone things in. In fact, I'm going to make my tool a little bigger, and then I'm going to make a new selection. Anybody ever see Children of the Corn? The creepy kids that all had the blonde hair and that? Okay. So, there is your photo restoration project.